Hi, and welcome to Ancient Future, the show where we have a communication and a channeling of the ancestral energy, and in relation to this new dispensation. Um, as members of the human family, especially the original people, or the Aboriginal people, the situation, this dispensation in which we find ourselves in. So, first and foremost, I give thanks and praise to the Most High. Thanks and praise to creation. Thanks and praise to the universe. Thanks and praise because everything is one. We are all one. Everything is one. The whole, the trees, the fauna, um, all the animals, everything, we're one. We're one. And also, we're one as a human family. As everything, we're just only one as a human family. Um, it's just that in this new dispensation, we gotta be able to return because there's nothing new under the sun. To return back to that which is harmonious and which is one with the universe. And first and foremost, I want to give out a big shout out and a big thank you to all the immortals, all you immortals who've subscribed, hit the notification button, all those who have left comments. All of you immortals, I give thanks. I give thanks to you, and also I give a special thanks right now to Nasali because um, she kept on asking, "Hey man, hey, when are you dropping the next video? When is the next video? When is the next video?" So Nasali, much love, much love, much love. I'm humbled, and yeah, you know everyone, all of you who I just feel from your comments, uh, your souls. I just feel your souls, and I give thanks and praise because we're immortals. Um, Today, I want to focus more on on family, on family, you know, and 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 in relation um, from the ancestral energy point of view. If we can take a step back and take a step back, honestly, take a step back, and let's take a step back. Let's say, hypothetically, from where they say all the original people were found, or the oldest carbon dated specimen of our ancestors. And the oldest, which is found in East Africa, within that curve, within that curve, and that curve includes that which we call um, um, Mount Kirinyaga, which is which the Greco-Romans termed Mount Kenya. Then there's Mount Kilimanjaro, and then there's Mount Renzori's. So when you go through all that, you get a curve, the crescent, a curve, and that curve is like the baby, which says it's the cradle, and it's named like the cradle of mankind. Yeah, a cradle, and that's the crescent. Okay, which we use in the in some of the Abrahamic faiths. Some of the traditions in the Abrahamic faiths have the crescent, the moon, and within when we look back and go to that place, we realize that okay, along that whole area there's savannas, The source of civilization is the family structure. The beginning part, the everything about civilization, it started from that place which we term family. And the structure of the family along the savannah, because we got to be able to ascertain right now, there are people right now still living within those same period, same area, same geographical area. And that lineage has been there since time immemorial. There has been a particular, the line hasn't been broken. It can be that it was thin, but it was never broken. And there are people living there. And the idea of a family structure was like there was great grandparents, grandparents, parents, um, children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. Now, when we talk about like great grandparents within the original people, um, any of your any of the siblings of your great grandparents are in ancestral energy point of view. Those are your grandparents. Those are your great grandparents. The siblings of your genetic line of your great grandparents. Those are your grandparents, and the siblings of your um, uh, um, of your parents. They're also your parents. They are your parents. And if you come to your own siblings, that means now the children from the siblings of your parents, those are also your siblings in one form or another. They're your siblings. Okay? So you had a structure of a family unit that was like a homestead. And that homestead, it had houses. And those houses, many of those houses could be one-roomed houses. And those houses were basically one-bedroom houses. And within that homestead, you had the house, the one which was housing like maybe the matriarch and the patriarch, and the various lineages coming down, and then that which is termed within the English language like all your brothers and sisters and the cousins and everything of the same age group will be having a housing of their own. So it was termed in such a way that every single house, every single bedroom had direct access to the outside. And one of the things, amongst others, why that was so, amongst others, one of the things was this, is that you had, you could enter your own private space without having, directly from the outside, without having, or stepping out without having to go through like a corridor and bypass someone else, whereby all of you are within a certain area where your energies are in collision. So you had to step out, you could step outside at whatever time, and then you commune with the universal energy, which is separate from the one which you have within you, and within that entity, within that sacred space which you call your bedroom. And then within that, you had like the communal room. And that communal room was the one where you would meet for meals. And many a times, in fact, during when it's like what we call the summer, when it's very hot, meals were usually had under a tree outside where everyone would sit and they would have under a tree. Or people would have where the communal house or the house where the matriarch and the patriarch are. And that communal house may be around the veranda of that house. So all of you would be having meals. Meals, um, in a lot of or a lot of the languages, yeah, meals is brethren. Meals is brethren. Meals is beloved. Meals, having meals together. It is that is one of the things that cements relationships. So when we continue along those lines, because we're talking about civilization, and from civilization we're looking at the family structure, and we know every single thing from whatever we're having right now, from what we call all the artisans, all the people who were proficient in certain fields. For instance, also you had a place which was the kitchen. Now within the kitchen, that is where all the naturers, and those naturers usually and commonly were were the sisters. The sisters were the ones who were the naturers. So you'd have a kitchen, and then within that kitchen, because of that, that is where you where all the food was prepared. And then because you also had people who were within the same age group, then you'd have like all the young adolescents. Those were the ones that went out to to look after the cattle, to look after the the to look within the area where the animals, where the animals were kept. That was usually assigned to the young to the adolescents. And then you had from there on to the next level, you'd had others who are being trained into especially also with the young adolescents, being trained into having to protect the homestead. Okay, and then from then on, you'd have others who would make sure that not only do you protect the homestead, you protect access to where the water was. Okay, you protect that access, and that access should have no infringement. And that access, not just infringement uh, people per se, because it was just one homestead, but usually infringement also from the animal kingdom. And that is where you had all these that's where you all these secret societies come from. Secret societies were from the original part of it. Those were holy places. Those were people who had a certain knowledge would commune together, and that knowledge was not for disseminating to everyone. Case in point, many, even to this day, many of the secret societies are gender based. They're gender based. And one of the things that will bring that out, like for instance, we talked about naturals, and the naturals were mainly like where you have the kitchen. And within the kitchen, within the naturals, there would be those who are proficient in childbirth. And within that childbirth, I'm just giving an example. Not exactly that, but I'm just giving an example. And within that childbirth, there were like the matriarchs and the elder sisters. They knew what it took, okay, to pass on that knowledge in order for whatever situation that turns out within childbirth. And that knowledge was passed on a personal level, which was not required for every other person, especially the males, to be able to have that access. And within that, there came the knowledge and the wisdom of plant-based medicine. And within that plant-based medicine, because when someone experiences childbirth over and over again, because it was a holy act, and that is it included, because you know you're passing on the ancestral energy, that which was there before is coming out again through the baby that is being born, and the baby that is being born, if we remember in previous episodes, we should remember that as the original people, before before the words came out like meditation and all that, us as the original people, we knew we had the science that was able to know which particular family you'll be reincarnated back into. In fact, when you left this body, it was scientifically, there were certain rituals which were performed around you in order to know that now you're going to come back within this time period and within this particular lineage. And that is where you many times you know that, oh, the knowledge and wisdom and understanding of this child is from these particular ancestors, because the ancestors has that's why even the ancestors reappeared in this child. That is why in a lot of African languages, um, it's termed birth is resurrection, childbirth is resurrection. Okay, so we had we had a lot of separation of roles, and those roles are the ones that formed the secret societies. And for instance, I'll give you an example. One of the other things, like for instance, within the naturals, like for instance, all the sisters, there was someone who was very good in hairdressing and plaiting the hair and doing the hair, and those roles, as simple as that looks, though it's not, it's got a mathematics to it. As simple as that looks, it was gelling the community together. When you look at animals, the animal kingdom, animals groom each other a lot. Animals groom each other. And one of the things which was happening, like for instance, hairdressing, that is a form of grooming. And that puts the family together. It makes the family come together. So within that, that's where you started getting, as I said, the roles which we had. Okay, they are the ones that formed the secret societies, and that secret societies was a way and a method of passing down a lot of this ancestral knowledge and wisdom only to those who are ready to receive it. Now, this internet age has 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 opened up that space, and whereby there's so much information, but uh, there's not as much knowledge, and as well as the wisdom is lacking. So even if that is given out, a lot of this knowledge has been given out, but very few, all this information, but very few people are able to benefit from it. And that is because outsourced, we've outsourced all these roles that keep a family together. We've outsourced something like hairdressing. I'm just giving an example, whereby everything which was done home, now you gotta go out and do it and have someone else do it for you, which in a way impacts our economy as a family. Because once that goes out to, you have to go somewhere else, you are giving that energy out. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, but in terms of the economy, that means the resources from here are going somewhere else in order for that person to do some of those things. In the family, there were people who dealt with who were stonemasons, okay, and those were people who were like for instance, who were um, uh, master builders. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Who were master builders. You had people who were proficient in, in metals, and these were people who had the knowledge of alchemy. And where when you hear all these things saying, oh man, I mean, turning metal into gold, this is for real. This is for real. That's why you hear of great African emperors who could move around with bullions of gold and give it out, and it did not depress their own home economies. But that bullion would depress the economies of um, 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 other nations in which they were able to pass through. So, um, when we look at the family structure is is the gem of civilization. All the elders, most of all the elders, were the ones that were passing on the knowledge. Their age groups, like for instance, the adolescents look after those who come right after them, and those who are pre-adolescents look after the toddlers. And even to this day, that's why you find out, like even right now in a lot of the aboriginal people, you'll be able to see like siblings looking after their siblings. You look at a 6-year-old child, and she or he has got a baby who's like 6 months, 8 months on their back, and they're carrying them. But these are roles whereby the education and the information is passed on according to the age groups. But the overall information was coming from the elders. And those elders are the ones who knew the language of the trees, the language of the plants, the language of the insects, the language, the whispering of the wind, the communication of the clouds, the chattering of ants. These ancestors of ours were in tune with the language of the living environment, because we are one, and they were one in alignment with the universe and with creation. So they would be able to communicate with the bird. They would be able to communicate with the lions, and that's where if one is able to see, that is where we after the breakdown like of the family structure. I mean, when you break it down from like their elders, okay, they're the matriarchs and the patriarchs, who would not be so many. Then there will be like maybe the grandparents, who would be a bit more, and then you had the parents, who are a large number, and then you had the children, that will be a huge number. It's there will be a huge number, and then it goes on like sort of like a pyramid. Okay, it's like you listen to that, it's like a pyramid. Yeah, and that pyramid structure, and that energy that energy of passing down that knowledge was for the continuation of of the family and the living of life in a manner that was in harmony with the laws that govern the universe. In harmony. And that means once something is in harmony, though, that is talking about bliss, that is talking about enjoyment, that is talking about being one, that is talking about being strong, that is talking about being joyful, that is talking about having the ability to command the laws of nature, that is talking about, and that's why we're able to have the language of the wind, the language of the animals. And that's where, with the breakdown of all that, we have clans because of that pyramid structure. And those clans are assigned certain responsibilities. And within those responsibilities, within those clans, that's where you'd have people who have mastered. And when they master that, that is where you have what we would call people coming together and forming secret societies. And those secret societies are the ones that led to the civilization, like expanding to the level whereby, because the family has grown so huge, and then you say, you know what? Let's have a mega building which is there to glorify creation. And it is from those secret societies where people have studied, and people study. Here we are told that you got to study until you study from what would be called kindergarten or nursery school or pre um, pre-elementary school, okay, all the way to university. And for a huge amount of time, that takes you like about maybe like about 18 years. But within the tradition, within the ancestral tradition, one studied for 45 years. You had to study for 45 years. So, um, when we come back, when we get back to the ancestral energy, we'll realize that there's nothing new under the sun. And we would realize, whereas everyone might be saying, oh, how come in Africa this is not there, this is not there, this is not there? We saw everything. We were able to have like have a 200-ton block of granite on top of another, in a scientific, in a aligned way. We were there before. And we realized that, you know what? Even with all that, unless we're in harmony, unless we're humble, unless we're one with the creation, we'll be able to lose it. So with this new dispensation we're in, yeah, with this new one which we're in, yeah, we have to be able to know that the 6,000-year period which ended, which had been given to members of the human family who worship a god of destruction, that period has ended. But with that period ending, what is next? And it's the rebuilding. And it's with this which we are channeling right now and sharing with everyone. This is the rebuilding. This is the rebuilding. We're rebuilding by getting attached back to our ancestral energy, because that's where we're going to get from that well of wisdom to go on to the next stage. Peace and blessings. Much love. Please remember to hit the notification button and subscribe. Comment. Yes, comment, comment, comment. Much love to you, Nasali. Much love to you, Ram, my brother Ram. And much love to you, Brother Gregory. Much love, much love. Keep on that, and we keep on putting out more of this communication. Peace and blessings. Much gratitude.